Since 1930, the average FIFA World Cup soccer match, the average score has been 1-0. Now, in a 90-minute game, that means 0.04% of the time, someone's kicking a goal. What about the other 99.96%? Well, it's spent trying to score a goal. And investing isn't much different. We don't spend all day buying and selling stocks. We spend it trying to find opportunities. We're talking to companies, talking to competitors, suppliers. We'll talk to ex-employees if they'll talk to us. And it can get frustrating. But when you do find that stock and it delivers for you and your clients, there's no knee slides, but there is a great internal satisfaction amongst the team. And it's a real pleasure to be here today to share with you some of that 99.96% of the time work we do into a few key ideas. The purpose of today is if you are looking at your Australian equity portfolio, I do ask for your consideration for the Firetrail Australian High Conviction Fund. I was in the US in June, and the one thing that I took away, I was in 8 cities, met with 60 companies. The one thing I took away is the resilience of the US consumer. This is probably counterintuitive given everything the US consumer went through with the fear of tariffs and Trump coming in and throwing his weight around. What you can see up here, if you can't see it up the back, don't worry too much. Oh, actually, you can see it up there. That's good. What this is JP Morgan Chase credit card data. About 1 in 5 credit cards in the US are issued by Chase, so it's a really good representation of what's happening with spend. And what you can see is there was no big drop-off in April or May or June. You could maybe argue it's slightly softer, but generally it looks a lot like it has over the past 2 years. So the US consumer is very resilient. One other thing I took away, this is very interesting, very different to Australia, is who is leading the spending pattern. In Australia, baby boomers have been leading the way, going on elaborate cruises and spending the inheritance. The younger consumers are paying high interest and struggling along. The US is almost the opposite. What you can see here is Gen Z and millennials, so this is aged 13 to 44. Their spending growth is very strong. It's around 5% over the last 2 years. Gen X, it's been around 1% and deteriorating. And the baby boomers are actually the weakest category as well. So it's very different to Australia. I don't have time to go into why that is. Happy to share with you after if you want to grab me. But it's fair to say the US consumer has been very, very resilient. I wanted to talk now about one of the strongest beliefs we have when we manage your clients' money. And that is that traditional factors don't work all the time. Typically when we make a mistake, we've tried to invest in a turnaround and it hasn't worked out, and I'll get a lot of free advice from perhaps you. It's usually just invest in quality. Why would you risk it? The fact is, if you invest in quality, this is the green line down here, the quality factor can underperform. And in fact, coming out of the GFC, just investing in quality stocks would have seen 8 years of underperformance. So no matter how good your stock picking ability is, if you just tie your wagon to just quality or just value or just growth, you can open yourself up to long periods of underperformance. The value managers are in a tough spot at the moment. It's been a pretty tough cycle. But any wagon like that you hit or any factor like that you hit your wagon to, can create long-term underperformance. So just stepping back a bit, and before I get into 2 of the positions we've added to in the past 3 months and 2 of our highest conviction positions, I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of the Firetrail High Conviction Fund in a nutshell. It is concentrated. We manage around 30 stocks at any point in time. We invest in both value and growth to avoid those long 8-year cycles. And we actively look beyond today. And I think you have to look beyond today in this market. Information is being priced in so rapidly, so aggressively in today's market. If you're just looking at the next couple of weeks, someone probably already knows what the answer is. People are buying data sets and the like. You've got to look beyond today. And so the 2 main areas for that is when we find these really great ideas, it's really where the market's underestimating positive improvement, or it's potentially a mispriced company with very little coverage at the smaller end of town. And so let's talk about one where we believe the market's underestimating positive improvement. It's a company you probably know well. It's a company called Cochlear. We haven't owned Cochlear. This strategy's been running for 20 years. We actually haven't owned Cochlear in any of that time until the last 3 months. And so I just wanted to start with a big picture, some of the work we did on it, just to refresh you, because you probably know what Cochlear is. It helps people hear who have severe or profound deafness. what does severe or profound deafness, what does that look like? If you stand under a jet engine, you can't hear a thing, right? You probably can't hear a dog barking. You certainly cannot hear speech. This isn't someone with a hearing aid. This is really serious deafness. Now, if you're a child born in a developed market like Australia, you'll typically have a hearing test in the first 5 to 10 days of life. And 80% of children born with this severe or profound deafness get a cochlear implant. So it's very well penetrated in children in developed markets. Where the big opportunity is for cochlear over time is in emerging markets. Only 10% of children with this severe or profound deafness get a cochlear implant. So this is a big growth market for cochlear. But the biggest one is actually adults and seniors in developed markets. Only 3% of people with severe or profound deafness get an implant. Typically this has been developed later in life. Maybe it's industrial deafness, being too close to loud noises, or it also could just be a genetic issue. That's the big picture. I think the market knows about cochlear, but I thought I'd share that with you. Why cochlear is attractive today is because it's been disappointing. The recent news has been negative in cochlear. There's been 12% downgrades to earnings expectations in the past year. So you can see there the market thought cochlear would earn around $6.90 a share for this year. It's actually going to be $6, and that's come over 3 successive downgrades. Now the downgrades have been caused because cochlear runs a razor blade style model. They sell you the implant and then you come in maybe every 5 to 7 years and get an upgrade. And some people have been delaying upgrades because of cost of living pressures. So the news has been negative. The stock has gone nowhere compared to the market over the last 6 years. So despite all this great growth, when you disappoint, you typically underperform, and it's 30% off the highs. So it's fair to say cochlear has material penetration upside with a lot of bad news. That alone does not make a great investment thesis. But one thing we found on a recent trip to the US where we spoke to a lot of audiologists, and all the audiologists usually make the decision or the recommendation about the cochlear implant. What we found is cochlear's new implant, which was only just announced at the start of this month or end of last month, is that the Nexa implant is a game changer. So cochlear today has 60% market share. This new product, we believe, is going to grow its market share significantly for 3 reasons. So the first is because it's the first smart implant. What does that mean? It means that it can be remotely upgraded and programmed. The second thing is it's got advanced hearing features, so you can start to potentially have musical appreciation. But the third one is the most important, and it's for audiologists. We've spoken to 6 audiologists in the past month, and they're telling us when they're using this implant, they're getting 20 to 30% more efficiency in their clinics because people don't have to come in. You could imagine if you're an audiologist, you've got to call your customer and say, please come in, we want to upgrade your implant. Now you can do that remotely. That's going to allow them to grow a lot more in a market that's underpenetrated. We think the market's massively underestimating how much share this implant can help cochlear take. And there is a lot of history in medtech or medical technology about new products driving material share. I've used the example here. This is ResMed. This is also a stock we invest in, but they launched a breakthrough product in 2014. It was the first chip-enabled CPAP machine, so it meant that your data was being uploaded to the cloud. Their market share before that was 30%. They launched the new product and it went to 40. It was 30% in 2014. 2 years later, it was 40%. So they took 10 percentage points of market share because of their new product. Sales grew 60% over those 2 years because the market kept growing and the market share grew as well. And so when you think about it, cochlear, you've got 60% market share today. The market thinks probably it might get to 65% with the new product. We think it can push up into the 70s and beyond. So you've got a stock that looks very undervalued with material penetration and upside surprise looking out beyond the now. What I wanted to do now was talk a different stock, and it's a brand new stock, and it's in the real estate industry. But I'll start with a question. What is the most valuable part of a real estate agency? The common answer is this guy. I'm in Sydney, so this is good. Lux Listings, I'm sure you've all seen it. You probably all deny it, but I know you've seen it. The flashy person, black BMW, talking while driving. I know it upsets us all. That's the common answer. But the truth is, this guy cannot go on holidays, because if he goes on holidays for a year, the revenue to the agency is 0. So what is the most valuable part if you actually own a real estate agency? It's the rent roll. And I looked up on Google, I should have done it on AI, maybe I'm getting old, but I looked up, famous rent roll person. I couldn't find one, but this is my mate Luke. He's actually runs a rent roll in Sydney, so I said, I'll make you famous. He said, oh, sort of famous. But the rent roll is the most valuable part of a real estate agency. I wanted to talk about a company called GemLife. The stock code's GLF. It only just IPO'd in July this year. It's a founder-led business. It was founded in 1982 and IPO'd, as I said, in this year. It targets over 50s living. So you can see up here, this is the Gold Coast. It's pretty good product. In fact, it's really good product. And the model's very simple. Think about it like a developer with a twist. So they buy land, they get DA approval. They'll typically build around 300 sites on one of these communities. They sell the house or the box. So they sell the box for $700,000, but they keep the land and they actually rent the land out. There's a few benefits to this. In particular, when you're renting the land out for $200, the average customer actually gets $100 back from the government. It's a really attractive way to build a long-term rental roll and a really valuable earning stream over time. What makes GemLife unique? Well, the first thing is they do their own building. So what most property developers do will buy the site, get it DA'd up, and then get an external construction company. We know what's happened to construction companies in the last little while. They've really struggled with inflation. But if you look at what GemLife has managed to do, their home margins have been very, very stable at around that 50% mark. The second thing is they've got 10,000 sites in their pipeline. Today they rent out 1,800 through that rental model. So there's another more than 8,000 that are set to be built over the next little while. And when you model it out, that's what we see for that rental roll. I would argue and make the case that this rental roll is as valuable as a government bond. It's land backed, it's got inflation built into the increases, and there's many, many customers across the board. So it's got reliable earnings, excellent cash flow, low capital, meaning it can grow quickly, and it's on a very reasonable multiple of less than 15 times PE. There are a few investors in this stock. We are the largest, so I'm up here. It hasn't gone up yet though, so I'm not telling you how good we were. We think it is very attractive. We are a very large investor in it, and there is no research coverage. So let me put it all together for you. The Firetrail team really believe in concentrated investing in value and growth. Talked recently about going to the US. The resilience of the US consumer has been very surprising. We talked about Cochlear, the fallen angel in that growth market with the positive inflection around the new product. And then finally, GemLife, building a rent book in a very capital effective way. If you do invest with us at Firetrail, I really appreciate your support. If you don't, I do ask you to consider us. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.